Alright everyone, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. This week we've got the Arnold Invitational. And just looking at the player pool, it's going to be a really solid week again. There's some nice soft pricing in the mid-tier that we can definitely go out and attack, especially on the DraftKings side. So we'll be touching on those players later on in the video. I'm going to do a little bit different of a breakdown with this video. So I'm going to start off with the recap of last week and go into depth with that. Then we're going to touch on our 3 favorite core plays this week. And then we're going to touch on the player pool, kind of give you both our cash plays and our GPP plays, and also break down our player pool of last week, and then kind of going forward how we're going to present the information to you guys. So stay tuned, it should be a pretty good video. Now let's get into the picks and the core plays. Alright, going to do that recap first though. So on the left hand side, you'll see kind of the breakdown of my GPP ownership. And so the blue is like 50% or more. Now this is kind of roughly how I do it. It was obviously a little bit different last week, but the blue is going to be my highest owned players. The yellow is going to be, the mid-tier options. And then the brown there is going to be my GPP plays. So you can mix those GPP plays in with those core plays. So not every build is going to be the same. You kind of want to mix it up, especially with your GPP lineups. So how you do that is obviously, make your builds out. Maybe if you want to fade one of the top options, then whatever you're left with in the GPP side, you just fill in one of these guys here in this player pool, and then that's how I kind of just make my builds. As you can see there, cashed again. So 8 out of 9 full tournament field events we've cashed in. So it's been a really good year for us, and we look to continue that this week. Now let's get into the core plays for this tournament. So I'll touch on these guys once again when we're going over the whole player pool, but let's get specifically, the first play that I like is going to be Lucas Glover. Lucas Glover has just been in tremendous form this whole year, just playing some really good golf, and I just think this is way too cheap. Honestly, I'd probably pay $9K for him, but that's also because he's won me a lot of money this year so far. He's a cut maker, should be able to go off and dominate again. He's the best overall stat fit according to my model, so he's going to be another strong option. I'm projecting him to finish T20. And the best thing about him is he's kind of just priced accurately on Yahoo, FanDuel, and DraftKings, so we can get away with playing him on all 3 of the sites. Next play I want to touch on is going to be Ian Poulter. Ian Poulter doesn't have the best course history, with his last 2 years being T40 or higher finishes, but he hasn't missed a cut here in the last 4 years, so I am projecting him to make the cut. He has one of the strongest likelihoods of making the cut out of anyone in my player pool, so although he might not pop, he definitely is going to make the cut, or has a strong likelihood to make the cut. Another person that has another strong likelihood to make the cut is going to be Charles Howell III. We know with Charles Howell III, he's just been a consistent cut maker pretty much his whole career, but this year he's playing some of the best golf of his career, and he's actually been starting to pop. He's made 4 out of 4 top 10 finishes so far this year, and we look to continue that this year. All right, so we get into the picks. Now on the top tier side, all these guys are going to be good options. I really do like Rory McIlroy, the defending champion. He hasn't missed a cut here in the last 4 years. He's playing some really good golf. Tiger Woods has actually withdrawn from this event, so that's unfortunate. He has some neck soreness or something going on. Justin Rose is going to be a strong option. I do think his ownership will be a little bit lower just because of that missed cut on the Euro Tour, so maybe that's a little bit of an edge we can gain if we play him. Ricky Fowler's going to be a solid option. I think if I want to pay for someone on the highest tier side, it would be Ricky Fowler. Hasn't missed a cut here in the last 4 years. He's a strong option for us. Jason Day is another good option. He's just been playing some really good golf. He's kind of found that old form that he used to have. He's made 6 out of 6 cuts, and he's a former winner at this course with all of his finishes being T23 or better. Bryson DeChambeau, not a bad option. The runner-up last year. He's a top 5 stat fit in this field. All the people on the high tier are actually some really good stat fits. They're all top 20 in my model. Mark Leishman's another good option. He also is a former winner at this course. Won it 2 years ago. Had a T7 finish last year. And then 3 years ago, he had a T17 finish. He's playing some really good golf again this year. So I think he's going to be a great option for us. If you want to play someone like Hideki Matsuyama, you can. I wouldn't really blame you. After that, though, let's drop it down below the 9K range. That's really where I'm going to be starting a lot of my builds out, other than my GPP lineups, where I'm kind of mixing in some of those lower tier plays. Billy Horschel is just a great option. He's made 9 out of 9 cuts so far this year. He's made 4 straight cuts here at this course, including 2 top 20 finishes. He's not the best stat fit, but he's just one of those guys that just goes out there and gets it done each and every week. We already mentioned Charles Howell, but let's dive into it a little bit deeper. He had a T14 finish last year, and then the prior years, T56, T46, and T21. So obviously he has that really good course history. He has a really good stat fit as well. He's top 10 in both ball striking and total driving. Same can be said for someone like Keegan Bradley, who's actually been playing some really good golf. Keegan Bradley is also 8th in strokes gained approach, and he's also 8th in that greens in regulation with the long irons that we're looking at this week. So he's been playing some really good golf. Hasn't missed a cut here in the last 4 years. He's going to be a strong play for us, and he might be a little bit sneaker option. A lot of people don't like to play Keegan Bradley. And I was kind of surprised at Jason Kokrat's ownership last week. I actually got onto him a little bit more last week because of his ownership. He had that really strong finish last week. He's made 8 out of 8 cuts so far this year. And he's actually made, well, he missed the cut here last year, but before that, he had made 3 straight cuts, including a T6 and a T20. He's also a top 15 stat fit according to my model. I already touched on Lucas Glover. He's one of my favorite plays this week. I'm just surprised by the pricing once again. He finished T49, T7, and T27 in the last few years. And he's the best stat fit according to my model. So he's going to be a great option. The only thing we worry about with him is if he has to use the long iron a little bit. He's only top 70 with that greens in regulation from the long iron distance. Ian Poulter, we already touched on, just playing some really good golf. 5 top 10 finishes so far in 8 starts, including his last 4 starts. So obviously, it's just a great fit, especially at this price point. It's something I really don't think we can pass up. But Ian Poulter is also one of those players that people just don't really like to play. So I don't care. That's something we can benefit from. It's dropping it down a little bit lower. Louis Oosthuizen is going to be a fine option. He's playing some really good golf so far this year. He did have the missed cut last year, but before that, he had a T28 finish, and then he had a T9 4 years ago. So not a horrible option. But, you know, we could probably do better. I'll probably end up with him just because he's a decent option at the salary range. Unless we want to drop it a little bit lower and go with someone like Adam Hadwin. Adam Hadwin is just a cut maker. He hasn't missed a cut here in the last 4 years. Now, he's only had 2 starts at this course, but his last start here was a 6th overall finish. He's not the best stat fit. He's top 30 in ball striking and total driving. So I don't mind him. If you want to go with someone with a little bit more pop, but definitely a lot more risk, you go with someone like Cameron Champ. Cameron Champ has made 9 out of 11 cuts. He is 61st in total driving, or 61st in ball striking, and 27th in total driving. Not a horrible option. He's the top 20 stat fit according to my model. It's just whether or not he can pop at this course. He doesn't have any course history so far. Now, if we go a little bit lower, there's some strong options that we can go with a little bit lower. More GPP options like Matthew Fitzpatrick. Royal class player. I'm a little bit surprised at his pricing here. Thought he'd be around 8K or so. He's made 4 out of 5 cuts so far this year, so he's not a bad option. Ryan Moore is going to be an okay option as well. He had a T5 finish last year, and he hasn't missed a cut here in the last 4 years. Decent stat fit as well. Top 50 in all the stats I'm looking at, so he can definitely go on and pop, especially at that price point. Not a horrible GPP option for you. If we drop it down a little bit lower, there are some okay options. You know, if you want to go with Brent Snedeker, he's only missed 1 cut so far this year. Of course, that was the last event that he had, so that might leave a little sour taste in people's mouths. So maybe that decreases his ownership a little bit. Steve Stricker, the Wisconsinites, just always got to give him a little bit of a shout out. He's playing well on the senior tour once again. Shout out to Vijay Singh last week, too. That was something special. Sanjay M, if you want to roll with him, you can. I do like Nate Lashley as an option this week. He should be a good course fit. He is coming off of, you know, that T6, and they also had that T12 a few weeks prior as well. So he's not a horrible option. Like I said, he's a good stat fit. Graham McDowell is a play that I don't mind. Again, he's a good stat fit once again. He has made 2 straight cuts at this course, including 2 top 30 finishes, so not a horrible option. I do wish he would have ended better last week. He probably would have had a lot better tournament lineups last week if it wasn't for Graham McDowell. Taylor Gooch, once again, I said it last week, he's one of those guys that when he pops, he really pops. I do wish he was still a little bit cheaper. He's only made 4 out of 8 cuts, but you know, he did have that T26 finish here last year, so not going to be a bad option. If you want to play him, you can. You know, kind of the same category is going to be someone like Harold Varner. If you want to pay up for him a little bit more, not a bad option. Let's Adam Schenk. He's kind of been a cut maker this year. Made 10 out of 13 cuts so far this season. Not a bad option if you're in that price range and you kind of just want to get someone that you think will make the cut. He's an okay stat fit. Could be a little bit better, but it could be worse as well. Yeah, I wish he had more pop to him at this price point, but just not a horrible play. A lot of these guys in this lower tier kind of just lack that pop that we're looking for. Danny Lee is someone that actually could pop. I don't have that strong faith that he's going to make the cut. He has made 7 out of 9 cuts so far this year, but maybe he will get there. Ernie Els. Now, this is an interesting option. I was a little bit surprised when I got on to Ernie Els. Made 11 out of 12 cuts so far this year, and he's made 3 out of 4 cuts at this tournament in the last 4 years. Not a horrible stat fit, but not the best. But, we'll just take that course experience and roll with it. Hudson Swafford's also a guy that hasn't missed a cut here in the last 4 years. He's made 8 out of 10 cuts so far this year. These two at this price point are really not too bad options, Swafford and Ernie Els. So if you're trying to fit someone like Ricky and McIlroy, you might have to roll with Ernie and or Swafford to fit those guys into your builds. Dominic Bazzelli is just a guy that had made money off of pretty well so far this year when he had that 5th finish at the Desert Classic. That was pretty nice. He was a core value play of us that week, so he's still a little bit underpriced, I believe. Vaughn Taylor seems like a guy that could go off at this course. I don't mind him. He had a T23 finish 2 years ago, and that's the only course experience that he has here in the last 4 years. But, he's not a horrible option. If you want to go with that, you can. So Corey Connors here. Really struggling this year. He couldn't even make the cut at the Puerto Rico Open, but he is a really good stat fit. So, according to my model, he is a top 20 stat fit, but his recent form, I don't really love it. But if he did pop, that's because he's a good stat fit. Stuart Sink's someone that, he's made 5 out of 7 cuts, so I do think that he's just priced a little bit too low for that. He has okay course history as well, so he's not a horrible option, but I think I'd rather just go with Ernie or Swafford. That's going to be the build so far for now. I will be posting the lineup on the Patreon page, so look for that. The link is in the description below, and I'll probably be tweeting out that GPP ownership just for you guys this week. Then next week, I'm going to be starting a membership page on the website, so look forward to that, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please give me a like and subscribe if you did, and let's keep cashing.